recommendations. Okay, so now, table topics is out the way, everyone can breathe a sigh of relief and relax. So we come to our next part of the meeting, which is our prepared speeches. So if you pick up your agendas on the back, you'll see the objectives for each speech. So just bear them in mind when you come to listen to the speakers. Our first speaker of the day, Aidan Kelly. When I asked Aidan what he is passionate about, Aidan said, financial planning. And I was like, okay. He said, everyone spends so many unnecessary years working because of lack of financial planning, myself included. With a speech entitled, The Things We Do for Love, please help me welcome on stage, Aidan Kelly.
It was midnight on Tuesday the 5th of April 1999. Howard Wormsley, a painter-decorator from Doncaster, heard slamming on his front door as he lay in bed with his wife. He poked his head out through the curtains and could see the flashing blue lights of police cars downstairs. He went downstairs and opened the door. There were two stern-looking policemen in front of him, one holding a warrant for his arrest. All of a sudden, a great sense of relief came over Howard. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the true story of Howard and Kathy Wormsley and the crazy things you do for love. Howard and Kathy were childhood sweethearts. They pretty much grew up together and fell deeper and deeper in love every year. They got married on Kathy's 27th birthday and moved into a house on the council estate where Howard was brought up. Now, 5 years into their marriage, things aren't going so well. The recession had hit badly, and Howard's business had pretty much fallen apart. Cash was tight, and the arguments seemed to be getting worse. As the bills and final notices came through the door, the arguments just kept going and going. Howard felt like a failure. He'd loved Kathy so much and had worked so hard in his business, he now felt like his whole life was crashing down around him. He thought that Kathy was going to leave him any day now. He tried everything to pay the bills. Then one day, on his way home from work, he bought a lottery ticket. He went home, sat in front of the TV, and as the lottery balls came out of the drum, he knew his life would never be the same again. The next day, the couple were shopping in Doncaster, and as walking by a certain shop, Kathy's eyes were caught by a pair of shoes in the window. As she stared down at these shoes, Howard leant into her and said, "Buy those shoes, treat yourself." She looked back up at him and said, "Don't be daft, we can't afford these." That's when he told her that they'd won the lotto the night before and that things would never be the same again. She couldn't believe it. Oh my God, she screamed, put her hands around him and kissed him. She was blown away. Things like this never happened to them. Howard asked her to keep it quiet, but she couldn't help herself. She let it slip to a relative that they'd won the lotto. He knew there was no point in keeping it a secret anymore, so they threw a huge party for all their family and friends. The next day, Kathy actually booked a holiday to the Canaries, the couple's first ever holiday abroad. After this initial blowout period, things actually kind of went back to normal. Howard went back to work and life went on as always. Then Kathy noticed that the bills and notices were still coming through the door, and she started to get a little bit worried. So one day she cornered Howard and said, "Look, you have to show me where this money is." He told her, you're getting worked up over nothing. Next day, when he came home, they went down to the nearest ATM machine and he brought his balance up on screen. It read £8,904,558. They actually printed off a little balance receipt as a memento and went on their way. After this point then, they really escalated. They really started to blow the cash. Big nights out, more parties. Businesses were actually coming to Howard looking for money. Banks started giving him the red carpet treatment. Even one bank, where he had a previous debt of £1,000, they wiped it, gave him a credit card for £10,000 and begged that he'd invest his money with them. Kathy now got a little taste for the finer things in life as well. They went to buy a new car in the local Jaguar dealership. They ended up ordering 2 brand new Jags, a convertible for herself in a luxury saloon for Howard. But the happier and happier that Kathy looked, the more depressed that Howard became. He couldn't bring himself to tell her, but he'd made up the whole thing. There was no lotto win. There was no big bank account. He turned a little lie about some £8 shoes into an £8 million whopper. Howard had actually borrowed £10,000 off a friend of his. This allowed him to pay for the shoes, the big party, the big holiday. Once the bank started giving him credit cards and overdrafts, the little lie started to pick up a momentum of its own. When Kathy actually asked him to show the bank account balance, he came up with the idea that he'd lodge one of his own checks into that bank account for $8.9 million. He'd show her the balance in the meantime before the check had a chance to bounce. This little lie had become very entangled and he just didn't know what to do. At the peak of the craziness, they'd actually agreed to buy a house out of the country for £300,000, put in a new swimming pool, build a snooker room, the whole lot. This little phantom fortune had just completely lost control. Howard had actually gone demented at this stage. He was so anxious he couldn't sleep at night. He felt like the bulges and cracks in his story were about to give way at any stage. It was a full 6 months after that initial lie when the police came to the door. They actually came to investigate another previous debt that was potentially fraudulent in his own business. He thought he'd never see Kathy as they took him away. He thought he'd never see her again. He told the police everything, opened up about the whole lot. He thought he'd never see Kathy, but she was actually there waiting for him when he came out of questioning. She was there in reception. There and then he broke down, apologised, told her exactly how the whole thing had come about. Howard got 3 years in prison for multiple counts of deception and fraud. Kathy waited for him the whole time that he was in prison. They still live on that council estate and now have 3 beautiful children. An interviewer asked Howard before he went to prison how this whole thing, this whole crazy situation had come about. He simply replied that these are the things you do for love. Thank you.